A PSA 10 Deadpool rookie card sold for $4,000. Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about that and just the overall state of the collecting industry. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, I kind of wanted to weigh in and give you my 12 cents on just everything that's going on with the kind of collecting industry as a whole. Because, obviously on this channel, we talk a lot about comic books. And recently, I've kind of delved into what's been going on with the comic book card collecting market and the explosion that we've sort of seen in that. And, I just kind of wanted to do a video where, I just talk a little more off the cuff and just give you my 12 cents on the state of the industry. Because for those who don't know, I did a video yesterday that was about some of the Wandavision Spec books and what happened to them after this last week's episode. And I feel like that's a sign of things to come for at least the next handful of years with the collecting market. But before I get into that, if you guys could drop me a like or comment or subscribe if you're enjoying my content. Love interacting with you guys. Definitely in this video, as I talk about this, I want to hear your thoughts too, because I'm just going to kind of speak off the cuff and how I've been feeling about things, and let me know what you guys think, because I'm here to just have this sort of conversation and see if we can figure out what's happening in the market. All right. With that being said, let's get into this first, big kind of thing that I wanted to talk about. And a lot of you might have seen the comic book card, Marvel card video that I made, the other week. Since then, there has been a few sales of a Deadpool rookie card that went for, $4,000, $2,000. And it's totally mind blowing because, if you guys are out there and you don't know about the existence of this rookie card, well, basically, it comes from a comic book that came out in the 90s, which is a X-Force #1. And this comic book was polybagged, meaning that they, was sealed in plastic, and inside of it came a trading card. Now, one in every five, there were 5 different trading cards. So only one in every 5 had this Deadpool rookie card, as you would call it. So I guess you could say maybe it's rare in that sense. But this is a comic book that from that 90s massive print run, they sold like 5 million copies of this book. So in theory, there's a million of these Deadpool cards out there. But because of the manufactured scarcity that exists within sort of like the third-party grading market, like with the PSAs and things like that, there are not that many Deadpool rookie cards out in PSA. The pop count for those things is very, very low. And recently, because of this craze that's been going on, this Deadpool rookie card actually sold for $4,000. And let me just show you guys really quick, just so you can get a sense of this. I pulled up the recent sales for the Deadpool rookie card. But specifically, I'll point this one out here. This one was listed right here. This was listed at $10,000, and it was a best offer bid that was taken. But let me show you guys a little trick that actually one of my viewers taught me how to do this. But if you go to the original listing, you can see here is listed at $10,000, Gem Mint, PSA 10. Deadpool X-Force 1 rookie card. If you actually click here on the page and say View Page Source, and then you go Control F. And then you write TAXEX, TaxX, it'll actually bring you to the tax exclusive price, which is $4,000. And that means that someone, when they sold this thing, accepted an offer for $4,000. So this one, that even though it was listed at $10,000, it was sold at $4,000. And then similarly, there's this one right here. This was a PSA 9. I think this went for $1,500. And then this was another PSA 10 that was listed at $5,000. And I believe this sold for $2,500. But regardless, no matter how you slice it, we're talking numbers here that are bigger than New Mutants 98 and then 9.8, a CGC 9.8. That's selling for like $1,500. So Deadpool's rookie card here, in PSA 10 is selling for more than Deadpool's actual first appearance in comic book form. And this is something that, I really needed to figure out, like, what's going on here. Because look, it could be complete market manipulation, right? That's a very, very possible, thing that's going on right now. I think that maybe there are instances where this is market manipulation, but it's happening so frequently that I have to think that you can't coordinate an entire market to behave this way. It's like after a while, it's like there's so many sales going on that I just don't think that there's a couple people that are like controlling this whole behavior. So somebody out there is paying for this stuff, right? Somebody out there is paying for this stuff, and it could be because people are caught with FOMO and they are being manipulated in that sort of way. But there are people who are genuinely hunting these cards because they think that they have this kind of value. And so that got me, set me down a path of like, I felt like I needed to do research on this and see what's going on. And I'm someone who has a lot of cards, but I've never really been like a card market collector. And for those who don't know, there's a massive card collection community within the sports card world. So I've kind of, dug into a lot of other YouTube content creators who deal in the, collecting sports cards hobby. And there's a lot of great ones out there. And I highly recommend checking, some of them out. I watched a lot of videos and it was really, really informative. And they've like the comic book collecting market. In the last like year and a half or so, they too have seen a massive explosion in their markets of the sports card world, and the numbers for those things are like they're dwarfing comic book numbers, because there are cards that are like Kobe Bryant cards and Steph Curry cards and Michael Jordan ones that are they're hitting like six figures. Some of these cards, and that's like a lot more than a lot of these comic books. And so this is something that's really interesting to me, is that I think that there are people that are in that market, and we're starting to sort of see a little bit of a spill over to the comic book space, especially with Marvel's success, right? With the MCU success, with the fact that, within pop culture, the Marvel brand is so significant, especially on a global stage. I think that there's a lot of people who are moving to this card market from the sports card market. And, so in my previous video, when I, made the comic book card video, whatever, that got a lot of views. A lot of people watched it. I noticed that a lot of the comments were, "Oh, this is ridiculous. Why would people pay more for these things? These were a dime a dozen. Why wouldn't they get the comic books? Things like that." But I think that one thing that these people are kind of forgetting is that there's a massive audience of people who don't collect comic books and don't care to collect comic books, and they would probably rather own these comic book cards. Like, just take a step back. For instance, if you're somebody who loves Spider-Man as a character, like, think of how daunting it is to figure out the comic book market, right? Think of how daunting it is to figure out, oh, I gotta like get Amazing Fantasy 15, Amazing Spider-Man #1. Wait, what's a first appearance? Like this, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, I have to get this book, Tom McFarlane, 1990 #1. Wait, that's not the first appearance of Spider-Man? I don't get it. What's that run? Like, there's so many other additional variables that make it hard for you to get into that collectible market. Whereas, like, if hey, this 1990 Marvel Universe Series 1, granted, it's not the first cards necessarily, but as far as like what people identify as like kind of like a player card, that's was the first rendition of that. I know there's a 1987 set that you guys can make an argument, but it doesn't really matter, because the 1990 set is the one that everybody remembers, and that's kind of the one that the market has now qualified as like the go-to set for the player card version of a lot of these characters. So if you're that person who doesn't want to get into the comic book collecting market, and you're seeing like, oh, here's a Spider-Man card, I can just jump on this, or hey, I love Black Panther, I'm just going to get his Black Panther card, it's his rookie card. Like, what do I care that it's not technically his first appearance? This is a different medium. This is a card medium, and that's something that's totally different. It's like the same thing where it's like, oh, people want to collect Michael Jordan's rookie card, but it doesn't matter that oh, that's not like the first ownable thing that you could have a Jordan's. Like, you could say, like, why would somebody want a trading card when they can collect his jersey? Why wouldn't they want to buy his jersey? It's like, it's just a different medium. Like, people just prefer different mediums. And one of the things that's actually kind of nice about trading cards is that they don't take up nearly as much space as comic books. And so for a lot of people out there who are collectors or speculators or people who love these markets, especially coming from the sports cards collecting market, I think for them they see this as an opportunity to jump into the Marvel card market. And I don't necessarily know if that means that, they'll eventually, that'll be the gateway for them to actually get into comic book collecting. It's very, very possible. But, I really do think, like, as I've kind of taken a look at what's been going on in their collectible hobby and think about it for, how it might apply to our collectible hobby, I think that the floodgates are about to blow open. That's what I really feel, because and again, I'm just kind of speaking off the cuff here, but this is just how I'm feeling about it and how I'm thinking about it, especially as I've done this, recent value tracking with what's been going on with WandaVision. For those who don't know, yesterday I put out a video that was an update on, certain spec books that I was tracking within the WandaVision space and how I've seen their increase in numbers. Well, one thing that I think is really interesting is, like, now we're kind of in this place where, like, the MCU is alive and well. More people know about Marvel characters more than they've ever done, in their entire lives, right? Like the pop culture is completely obsessed with the superhero genre and specifically the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I think what we're seeing is because we have all these properties that are Disney Plus shows, Disney Plus movies, there's a slate that is planned out for the next, like, at least, 3 years that are actually, like, out there, like, and who knows how many shows they haven't revealed yet, or movies they haven't revealed yet. Like, what we're starting to see is there is an active market within this space, an active speculative market where people can say, ooh, this show's coming out. Maybe we're going to have this character, or this character made an appearance here, or, as recently as last one episode, like Captain Marvel, like, she got her superpowers and her book jumped up because effectively she had, like, an awesome episode, right? And that's that type of active market has been what has been moving the sports card market for a long time, right? Because people are like, oh, this player won a championship, or, oh, this player got traded to this team, or, hey, this person had a triple double in their game, or this person scored 5 goals in their champion league team, or whatever, or English Premier League. This person went off, and, like, that active kind of cultural market has had impact in the activity of the sports card world. And for the very first time in Marvel with the MCU, we're starting to have it be that there is an active market, like, all the time, in terms of speculation that is always existing now, and it's really, really taken off, especially since we had the success of Infinity War and Endgame. There's always been people that have been speccing on books because of movies and properties and things like that, but I think because Endgame and Infinity War was so successful, I mean, think of all the people in your life that are now, like, back into the hobby, or, like, think of all the YouTube channels and blogs and things that have, like, popped up, since, like, 2017, 2018, since we got into phase 3 of Marvel, really. Like, I mean, if you really think about it, it's like phase 3 has created, like, really, like, the popularity within the space, and it's really brought new life into this market. And for that reason, now we have this, like, the speculation world that is active, that people are, constantly talking and thinking of ideas and trying to figure out what's the next big thing. And for that reason, that excites people, because the reality is, like, with the sports card world, a lot of it is, it's the same excitement that you would get from, like, betting in sports, or it's the same excitement you get in playing, like, in a fantasy league, right? Except the sports card is a actual tangible asset that you can sort of invest money in and maybe have an ROI on. So I think that sort of energy and that passion has trickled over now, or might trickle over into the Marvel space, because here we have this market that is always evolving, that is always moving. There's always people that, like, are like, oh, this character here and this character here. And once you start to see the culture getting really excited about these collectibles, or these, whether they're comic books or trading cards, I mean, who really knows what's going to happen with that? But once that becomes, like, mainstream and people start to see money to be made, or people start to see, like, some of the numbers of these things that are going up, that's going to excite people, because money excites people, especially within, like, the culture of the collecting world. And that's something that, as I've looked at these numbers with the books and how they've reacted to the WandaVision episodes, if you have people who can get that, in the weeds with it every single week, as we have new Marvel content or new whatever Disney Plus shows and things like that. I mean, the sky's the limit for what's going to happen with this market. And if we start to see people who were, not necessarily comic book collectors start to dip their toes into this market, I'm just throwing it out to you guys right now. Like, I mean, I can't imagine what's gonna happen with the numbers for some of our favorite comic books, or even these comic book cards. Like, I'm not sure that this is necessarily going to go away, at least not within the next like 3 to 4 years. So, not until we don't get any more MCU stuff, or Kevin Feige retires and these Marvel shows like suck. Basically, like, I think that this is going to be an active market for quite some time. And then the last thing I kind of want to point out to you guys, just to kind of bring it back to like the comic book cards and things like that. And something that I thought was really interesting is, a lot of people I noticed in the comments said stuff like, oh, like the pop count is ridiculous for these things. Everybody had these. These were printed like, for craziness and stuff like that. And one thing that I've noticed as I've been watching a lot of other YouTube content creators within the sports card collecting space is, a lot of those sports cards were printed just as much as these comic book cards were, if not even more. And in particular, I've heard a lot of people talking about, in the sports card world, pop count. Yes, it matters because this is like a, capitalism and it's a supply and demand thing. But like, there are cards that like have pop counts of like 15,000. And to put it in perspective, like a 90s like Spawn, CGC, or New Mutants 98 CGC has a pop count of like 3,000, but the cards that are like, pop counts of 15,000, like, still sell for way above what New Mutants 98 does. And it's just because like there's just that many people that want to get their hands on it. And so that's something that like I don't think it necessarily matters like how many of these cards were printed necessarily. I mean, if there's a demand for it, and if the culture continues to move towards, people loving the MCU and wanting to spec on the shows and get really into it like week to week and trade these things, I mean, we're finally at a point where the trading aspect to trading cards has never been easier, right? And I think that, with these pop counts, it doesn't matter, because if there's, 10,000, it doesn't matter if there's, 10,000 PSA 10s of a Amazing Spider-Man 1 card. If 15,000 people want them, then there's going to be a market for that. So anyways, that was just kind of like, talking about this. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot, especially as I've looked at these numbers with the Wandavision Spec books. And, as I look ahead, like, this comic book collecting market or the trading card market or whatever, it's never been more alive. And I think that with the next phase of Marvel and seeing how people, go crazy week to week with what happens in these shows, I can't see this stopping anytime soon. And whether that means that the comic book collecting market is just going to have crazy prices in the future, or if people are going to move to these Marvel trading cards, like, honestly, I of course I don't know. Like, I can't predict the future, but what I do see is that the floodgates are about to open. That's basically all I can say is with this. And now we've been, finally had WandaVision. It's been a successful show. We didn't have Marvel content for a year. And I, as we start to get the rest of the shows and the movies for the next few years, I think that the speculation for a lot of these things is just going to continue to grow and grow and grow. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. Thanks for listening to my 12 cents on this thing. I just kind of wanted to put my thoughts out there. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, I feel like we're really entering a new space that is like uncharted water. Like, the speculation as it relates to Marvel properties has never been more, exciting for a lot of people. So let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think of these trading cards? What do you guys think of comic books? Do you think we're going to get new comic book collectors, into this market? Are more comics going to be graded by third-party, companies? Is that going to be kind of like the new trade? Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.